the hours after the Bondi attack, social media was flooded with misinformation and disinformation about the shooting, including false claims about the gunman and fake images of the scene. In one instance, X's AI chatbot repeatedly misidentified hero Ahmed Al-Ahmed, the man who was filmed tackling one of the gunmen and disarming him, claiming he was an IT professional by the name of Edward Crabtree. Alastair McGibbon is Chief Strategy Officer at CyberCX, a leading provider of cybersecurity experts. He's also the former National E-Safety Commissioner, and he joins us now from our Parliament House studio in Canberra. Alastair McGibbon, welcome. So what have been some of the examples which have raised red flags for you?
Well, Joe, firstly, let me just acknowledge the horror of Sunday. And I've reached out to my Jewish friends, and we should all do that as a matter of course. Look, Joe, you've already named some of them. The hero Ahmed Al-Ahmed was misnamed by Elon Musk's Grok, which is on the X platform. And it used information from a website that was registered on Sunday in Iceland as its main source of information and disregarded information coming from legitimate media sources in Australia. It highlights the bizarre world we're heading into as we make AI for everything, just how badly AI can be poisoned with information. We also saw, for example, and it spread on Reddit and WhatsApp and on X, a fake image of what was allegedly a Jewish person having blood painted onto them as makeup, alleging, of course, that this incident didn't occur. And then there was one that reflects a lot of US politics at the moment, and that was a cropped image of female New South Wales police officers, who I think everyone would recognise were extraordinarily brave on the day, alleging that they were running from the gunman, as opposed to the truth behind that photograph, which was that they were actually taking bystanders away from the incident after it had concluded. And it highlights again how we need to be super careful of what we see on out of our AI engines and what we see on social media.
Yeah, and what's the dangers with this in terms of influencing people's attitudes, especially in an emergency situation?
Well, absolutely. We need to know what a trusted source of information is. And unfortunately, to so many Australians these days, that's now social media platforms and their algorithms. And increasingly, it's AI. As we go about this relentless task of agentifying all information so that it gets done by a computer versus a trusted media source, we're going to see more and more of this, and it highlights the guardrails that are going to be necessary to put in place. And for Australians to go to places they can trust for information, there's always a fog of war, Joe. There's always misunderstanding and information that isn't correct. But, you know, responsible journalism, as you know, and as your colleagues know, both in your service and in your partner services, you know, they have responsibilities about what type of images are shown, how they're interpreted, and what sources of truth there are. That is blurring, and it's blurring fast in this country. And as horrific as this episode was, it also highlights this broader information environment we're in and how bad it's going to get.
Do you think regular people are gradually becoming more aware of this and a bit more discerning?
I think it's the exact opposite, sadly.
Yeah.
Most people are getting their news now via social media apps. These, by the way, Joe, are the world's richest companies who can monetize us down to the finest details about us, and yet they're unable to stop false information, to stop false information going out on their platforms. They're unable, it seems, to stop horrific images, whether they're fake or sadly real images, spreading that the media can't and won't share. And it highlights, actually, sadly, the exact opposite of what you were hoping, which is we're getting more and more of our information this way. More and more of it will be automated, using questionable sources for their information, manipulated by people with objectives that are not about social cohesion, not about unity and peace, but about dividing our community. And social media has led to more of that division, and it'll be accelerated using AI.
So how should governments combat this?
Well, they need to hold social media companies to account, there's no doubt, and AI companies. They're the bright, shiny thing that everyone wants, and at the same time, we're not recognising the enormous potential social, political, and actual harm that can come to Australia from these technologies. I'm not saying we shouldn't have them, but I am saying that they should be held to the same account as a media service is, for example. These are some of the smartest people in the world, and certainly some of the richest. And they are quite capable of engineering security and safety. The E-Safety Commissioner, Julia McGrant, uses the phrase safety by design, and that should be built into every single one of these pieces of technology, because the more and more we automate, the more we fragment where our information comes from, the more onus is upon those organisations that own those platforms to make sure that Australians are properly informed during these times of crisis. You know, there were fake stories put out on social media on the evening, as traumatic as it was, saying that there were attacks occurring in other locations. You know, and that people were misidentified as offenders, and that spread online. That's terrible for those individuals, and it spreads fear into a community that requires calm and peace and thoughtfulness, and to, you know, rake through what happened on Sunday and make ourselves stronger, not weaker and more divided. And social media companies and AI companies should be held responsible for that lack of social cohesion that they cause.
And so are there some specific examples that you can point to from Sunday night that you think that maybe a penalty should be considered, not if not in now, but if something else happens down the track, that an example of something that should face a penalty?
Well, Joe, let me just say this, that my understanding is that when Grok or X were contacted for comment about the fake information that everyone would agree was completely fake about the hero on Sunday, they said it was legacy media lies. So I think there's an awful lot of information they should be held accountable for. The Safety Commissioner, of course, will be trying to take down abhorrent material, as is her responsibility to do so. And I would urge social media companies to make sure that they respond to her office's directions, and most importantly, proactively do this themselves. So yes, in slow time, because clearly the priority needs to be on making sure the community is safe and the investigation is rightly carried out by various police forces and security agencies. In slow time, we do need to understand the role social media and AI companies will play in future incidents to ensure that they do the right thing.